Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about bad software teams. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, I have been offered a position as a software engineering manager for a lousy team. Should I take it? No, I wouldn't do that. I don't know anything about the team, but I know something about you. And a software engineering manager who starts off by stating that this is a bad team uh, and posts that on the internet is grossly incompetent, and I wouldn't take this job because you are clearly not uh, either experienced enough or mature enough to deal with this situation. I wouldn't do it at all. Because if you had said something like, I don't know, this software the team has a track record of performing poorly, and the main players are these sorts of peoples, and these people, and I have identified that the most likely cause to this is because they have communication issues, or they're composed primarily of junior developers, or their composition is that there's one really poisonous senior developer with a few scared juniors who don't really get any help, which results in legacy code. Then I might have said, well, then you probably should consider if you're willing to put in the effort. Are you willing to be, do you have the social skills and the engineering skills to come into this environment and break the status quo? Are you able to identify the key issues here, and do you know how to address those issues? Because each software team is different, and you need to know not only how good established work practices works in modern development, you also need to understand people. You need to understand how to effectively communicate with the different team players, and to try to see where their strengths are and where their weaknesses are, and figure out if there is a systematic way for you to solve these sorts of issues. And then you also have to understand, as a good software manager, that every software team works as an engine. It doesn't really matter if what your ambitions are, or what your dreams are, because the engine you have is suited for a certain type of work. If you want to compete in Formula One, you need a specific type of engine. But if what you have is a little two-stroke engine that might suit a Vespa or something, you can't force that thing to be a Formula One engine. You have to tweak it and tune it as to the best of your capabilities, because every software team, as I said, they're made up of people, and those people have different goals, dreams, ambitions. They're all different, and your job is to figure out how to make them work as effectively as you can. If you're really good and you're really lucky and you have the right composition of people, you can go really far with the software team. But you also have to accept that there is a limit to how far you can push something, because there are limitations that you are simply not able to bridge. I've seen many managers who either have the idea that they're going to change everything, or they're going to turn this team into a superstar team or something like that, and they simply don't realize that what they're actually doing is that they're projecting their own values and their own ambitions onto the team. And if your desire is, because it really does sound like, because you sound like one of these types of managers, where, or rather, this is not that specific type of manager, but this type of manager they are the types that usually they're very inexperienced. They are mid 20s, late 20s usually, and they're completely, like, for most intents and purposes, they spend every single moment they have trying to basically just experiment. Like, in many ways, I would say that they're similar to a junior software developer. They've read a bunch of books. They've read a lot of, watched a lot of their own presentations and tech talks, but instead of trying to use functional programming for everything, or service meshes, or design patterns, they try to create team building exercises that is embarrassing for everybody involved, and it doesn't actually bring any value, because they understand the spirit of the thing, they don't understand how to apply it. They're basically educating themselves on their team, and wasting a lot of usually they waste a lot of time, and especially the best part is when you compare you put a manager like that together with someone who a really senior developer, because you're going to piss these people off enormously. Usually it becomes usually these people butt heads, because the more experienced developers, they don't care usually how enthusiastic you are about about new practices and stuff like that, unless you are proven. There is a very good saying that if weak leaders don't have strong leaders following them, they get usurped or undermined, which is exactly the case. And the other type of manager that I think that you are is the type of manager who is you're really in it for yourself. Because if you ask, should you take this, like because the way you formulated your question, it seems to me that you're more concerned with your own career than you are with the team. And if you're career focused instead of team focused, then I really don't think that you should associate yourself with this team, because you simply don't have the mindset or nor the seniority and skill to solve this issue. It's much better for you to take a light team. Like understand that just as a junior developer, you need a learning process as well. So try to go and find a team where the odds are in your favor, and usually that's going to be a standard a semi-junior or like a mid-level team, where most of the team members can sort of do the work themselves. You don't really have to guide them all that much. And then look at that as your own learning opportunity, where you can now be in an environment where you don't work with the absolute most seniors of seniors, because usually it once again it depends a little bit on the composition. If you have the right seniors, they will just excuse you for being a shitty manager, because I promise you they've dealt with more than a few, and they're going to make your career for you, or they're going to basically make you look really, really good. Because the way that the only two things usually a manager has to prove is that, number one, they know how to deal with the stakeholders and answer questions and do all the administrative work, and the team needs to perform. If you get those two things in line, you're going to look really, really good. I even have a really funny story. I took the job because my manager when I was a junior developer, I took over summer for him while he was on vacation. And for whatever reason, I have no idea why, the team was performing really well. I'm assuming that we had a really good magical combination of stories that were really, really simple, and we just so happened to have some of the seniors. They were all at the office at the same time, roughly. And then I got a really big pat on the back from the head honcho of the company, saying that Frederick has done an amazing job being taking the reins for this amount of time, and the productivity of the teams have been looking super excellent in a time where usually that doesn't happen. And I just kind of sat there, and I like just smiled and said, "Thank you so much." And I looked at my the software developers who had actually done the work, and I went, "Thank you for making me look this good," because all I really did was to turn on the projector when we came into the office, or came into the morning meeting. That was it. I had nothing else. Nothing else had I did nothing else. So what I want you to take away from this is that usually software engineering managers that talk like this fall into two categories. Either you are a very fresh software engineer or software manager, and the beginner software managers usually they have a lot of big ideas and they want to process everything, and everything is about agile and so forth, and they're basically just regurgitating, just as a junior developer, things that someone else has told them will work. And the worst part is that many of them don't actually have the social skills to understand how to apply these things, and they will never have those skills, because there are different levels of skill when it comes to software engineering management as well. So if you're that sort of manager, try to find yourself a team. And I would say, even for career purposes, if you're the other version, which is like you're actually more about your career, you want to climb the ladder, then in both those scenarios, find yourself a team that will do the work for you. Because the best part about being a manager in this regard is that if you find the right team, they will carry you. They will carry you the entire way, because they will basically require so little of you in terms of management that you will look good. Then the only thing you really have to do is to make yourself look good, like make yourself look good towards the stakeholders and like in those sorts of dialogues. If you are a quality manager, you should never have ever said something like, I have a lousy team, how do I deal with it? You should have, and this is why I say, find yourself a better team, a simpler team. Because this team that you're talking about, they're going to need a real manager. Someone who, I would even go as far as to say, they need a leader. Someone who really knows their stuff, knows people, and knows the industry, and knows how to build people up. And that is, my friend, that's not you. Have a great day.